Hello and welcome to this Philbert Flies review of Burning Blue Design's Farnborough Airport Scenery add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. As you can see, I'm doing my approach in the CJ4 today. I figured this was a more fitting type of aircraft to use than the A320, as Farnborough is primarily a business aviation airport. I'm starting with an approach, as always, to give you a look at the surrounding area and the opportunity to gauge the performance of the add-on on my computer. You can find my system specs and graphics settings in the video description down below. I'll let you watch the approach and landing in peace, and I'll speak to you again when we're parked up on the apron. From there, we'll take a good look around the airport together in different weather and lighting conditions, and I'll finish up by giving you my opinion on it.
Autopilot. Minimums.
Welcome to Farnborough. We're parked up here on the north apron. As you can see, there are no jetways or traditional terminal buildings, but we do have these rather beautiful hangars. So let's make a start by having a look at the modelling and texturing of these. So the hangar doors look absolutely fantastic. They're really nicely modelled. If you get up super close, there's a little tiny bit of blurriness in the textures, but by and large, these are plenty crisp enough for day-to-day usage. Moving up to the roof, you'll notice that these are really pretty smooth. Yet there are some slight jagged edges if you really look for them, but as curved roof structures go, these are some of the best I've seen. Moving along to the northeast, we have a gate where the VIPs can be driven directly to their aircraft, and we also have this FBO terminal building, which looks very nice indeed. Once again, we've got some nice smooth curved edges, we've got some brilliant texture work on the outside. We don't have a fully modelled interior, but we do have some very nice parallax in use to create the impression of something going on inside. So really, I am impressed. I'm also impressed by the PBR textures that are used. The reflections of this metalwork are very convincing indeed. Over on the West 1 apron, we have more of these beautifully modelled hangars, one of which has a really nice three-dimensional Farnborough Airport sign above it. But most excitingly, this hangar also has a modelled interior. And as we move inside, you'll notice that we have two static CJ4s parked up, one of which has two people working on it, which is nice to see. And we have a lot of clutter around the edges of the building. So we've got these platforms, trolleys and various other things. The ground textures look really good. They're nice and crisp. And the textures on the walls look pretty good as well. They are a little blurry if you get super close, but I'm really nitpicking here. Overall, this is a very realistic looking hangar. The West 3 and West 2 aprons are also hives of activity, with more static aircraft, more hangar interiors, and a lot of atmosphere thanks to the large amount of ground clutter. You will notice that some of these planes do the little bobbing up and down thing, which seems quite common in this sim. I don't know why it happens. I don't think there's much developers can do about it at the moment. The rather unique control tower has been really nicely modelled. We've got some really nice texture work on the outside, and we have some tinted transparent glass with a modelled interior up at the top. And as we move inside, you'll see they've done a really nice job here. Unfortunately, the glass doesn't retain its tint from the inside, but honestly, who cares when you've got detail like this? At the bottom of the control tower we have some more transparent glass, and we have some interiors shown, but these are not particularly detailed. Over on the south side of the airfield we have these marquees set up for the air show, and these look very realistic as well. Excellent quality modelling and texturing throughout. We also have this BAE Systems hangar with a Eurofighter Typhoon parked outside, and again we've got a lot of animated people around it, which makes the whole thing look very lifelike indeed. We've got sort of a marquee over here which is sort of in the process of being set up as far as I can tell. So there really is a huge amount of detail across the airport. So we've taken a look at quite a few of the static aircraft that are included with the scenery as we've been moving around the airport. There are some others though, so we have some generic airliners parked up over here, which I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of. I'd rather see no airliners at all than these generic liveried ones. But it's a small point and you may well disagree with me, and that is okay. We also have some helicopters, which I think look really nice. So by and large, I'd say the static aircraft add to this scenery rather than detract from it, with the possible exception of those airliners. The ground textures at this airport are pretty good overall. The materials used and their colours appear to match the real-world airport very closely indeed. There is a little bit of blurriness with the joins between these concrete slabs here, but I didn't notice it on my taxi in, so it can't be that big of an issue. The ground is slightly grubby around the taxiways, perhaps not quite as grubby as the real airport. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more dirt, but the Google satellite imagery does show this airport to be pretty clean overall, so again, not a biggie. The taxiways look great, and the ground markings are 100% accurate as far as I can tell. We've even got details like this change in colour here, which matches the satellite imagery, so the attention to detail is very impressive indeed. The grassy areas look very realistic throughout the airport, with a good variety of shades of grass and some areas which are barer than others. The runway textures are absolutely superb. They look very lifelike with a good amount of rubber marking, and as you would expect, all of the runway markings are spot on as well. Burning Blue Designs have clearly put a lot of work into modelling the areas around the airport as well. This industrial estate, for example, looks very close to the real thing. Although some of the buildings are slightly generic, I don't think this matters, and it's certainly very nice indeed to see details like 3D lorries parked up on these loading bays. The amount of detail to the northwest of the airport is even more impressive. This fuel farm looks absolutely fantastic with really nicely modelled tankers, etc. We have no trace of blurry default satellite imagery roadways. Instead, we have properly modelled and textured roads. We have vehicles parked up outside the hangars which look great, and we have some pretty impressive fencing as well. The car park out of the front of the FBO terminal looks absolutely fantastic. There's a little bit of an elevation issue down here, as you can see on this right turn lane. It's just unfortunate that I spotted that at the start of this shot. I couldn't really not mention it, but honestly, who cares? The ground textures are fantastic. The trees look really good as well, and it's nice to see some properly parked 3D vehicles in the car park. We've got passengers walking across and into the terminal, which is a really nice little detail, and the textures and modelling of this side of the terminal building are every bit as good as those on the airside entrance. Here's Farnborough by night, and overall it looks pretty good. The apron lighting is really nice, with each of these pools of light having its own light source. The opaque window textures, they're alright, they're not the best, but they're okay on these hangars. The ones on the terminal I don't like, if I'm honest. They're just a bit grey, and they don't, to me, create a convincing impression of a lit terminal interior. We have some unusual green light over here. Now, I haven't been able to find a light source for this. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm sure it's there in reality. You wouldn't just plonk green light in for no reason at all. But it would be nice to see the lamp that is casting the green glow. I suspect, as we move around, that it might possibly be lighting up this little balcony somehow. But yeah, there's no green light bulb that I've been able to spot anyway. The runways and taxiways are very nicely lit. As you can see, the taxiways have both edge lights and centerline lights as appropriate. We do have quite a few of Asobo's magic light orbs scattered around the place, which is a shame, but not something that developers can do anything about. Here's Farnborough in the rain, and the ground textures look pretty good when they're wet. They support the default reflections and puddles very nicely indeed. We don't have too much transparent glass, so we don't have to worry about the popping. You will notice a little bit of that over on the control tower there. It doesn't get shrouded in mist as it should, but nor does most glass in this sim. So overall, pretty good. And here's Farnborough in the snow. As you can see, there's a thick covering over almost everything. There are some strange patches on the taxiways which haven't got snow on them, which is a shame, but the runway's clear, which I really like to see. There are also not too many harsh transitions. There are no sharp lines. You'll notice that the edges of the runway are nicely blended in with the grass adjacent to it. So overall, I would describe this as above average. So what do I think of Burning Blue Design's Farnborough? Well, I think it's great. I found an unusually small number of things to moan about. The key bits I'd like to see improved are the slight blurriness of the ground textures and the less than convincing nighttime window textures on the FBO terminal building. Other than that, this scenery is a triumph. The level of detail is incredible, from the ramp workers to the static aircraft to the buildings surrounding the airport. All of this really helps to bring the place to life. The general quality is very high as well. The modelling and texturing of the buildings and structures is very impressive. I was particularly impressed by the hangar and control tower interiors. So all in all, if you're looking for a London base for your business jets, or if you're wanting to put on an air show, I'd highly recommend you snap this up. Thank you very much for watching. If you found this useful, do please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more reviews, tutorials and live streams. And I hope to see you again soon here on Philbert Flies. Bye bye.